Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. This is Lisa Harrison, and this is the One People Show, and that would be Brian.
Sorry for coughing on my microphone when you were talking.
Welcome, Brian.
Thank you. It's good to be back. I missed you, everybody. I didn't fall off the face of the earth. I was in Big Bear Lake for a few days and then was in Las Vegas for a couple of days, and I'm sitting here with my tall Italian sparkling mineral water, attempting to recover, and miss you all dearly, and glad to be back on the airwaves with everyone. Lisa, Bob.
And you were missed.
Thank you. Missed you guys.
Are you drinking Perrier?
Oh, it's a Whole Foods version, actually.
Oh, goodness.
GMO free.
How gay is that?
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
And, of course, Guru Bob's with us again.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Glad to be here, as always. And welcome back, Brian.
Thank you, Bob.
And I'm just teasing you.
It's okay, Bob. You can call me Gail you want. That's why I love you.
I know you do.
Hey, guys, I'm going to apologize beforehand, ahead of time, because I am having one of those Lisa is not here right now, please leave a message moments. Kicked in about an hour and a half ago, and I'm still not quite here. So if it sounds like I have fallen off the face of the earth, I just may have during the course of the show. So let's see how we go.
It's okay. We've been setting the stage for a 2-hour-long Bob monologue for months. So take it away, Bob.
Well, unfortunately, whatever is hitting Lisa I told her, it's circled around the globe, so it's going to take at least 3 hours to get to you, Bryce, so you're the show.
Lots of callers. All right, guys, bring in those calls.
Well, I have a feeling today's show is going to come awfully close to sounding more like a collective imagination show. Because I don't know about you guys, but Bob and I in particular have had an amazing week energetically, with dots connecting, pieces of the puzzle falling into place, and it's been extraordinary. And, you know, one of the things that we haven't discussed on this show for a few weeks is these ever elusive documents, and we haven't discussed them because there hasn't really been anything to say. On the one hand, we keep hearing that they're done, they're finished. And we keep hearing that in terms of releasing them, it's about a series of energetic events that need to take place before they are released. And we're almost there, apparently. But one of the things that Bob and I were talking about this morning was looking back over the journey we've all been on over the last 8 months and all of the different conversations that have come up. And using the CVAC discussion as an example, you know, when the CVACs first came out, the whole idea of them, we spent weeks, months discussing them, what they could look like, what they would feel like, how they would perform, what was the structure in the system. And really, it didn't take long in the grand scheme of things for us to get to a point of a collective kind of agreement where we didn't feel the need for CVACs. We were able to go straight to the idea of self-governance. And is that what's happening here with the whole idea of the financial system? You know, we didn't actually have to get to the point of physically implementing CVACs before they were superseded, really. And is the idea of these documents doing the same thing? Because I know many of you, I see your comments all the time on Facebook or in these chat rooms or in email messages and what have you, that you're more than ready to bypass any representation of value and go straight to an energetic system. So just having the conversation out there, and we've said it before, you know, we've said it a couple of times that, you know, if everybody on the planet in one day could be switched on to having $10 billion, in whatever form of representation it took, it would automatically be followed by the day where none of it was necessary. So are we just bypassing the physical step and going straight to that day where it's unnecessary just by having the conversation? I think we are.
Well, the entire goal was to eliminate money.
Yes.
Eliminate all representations of value. That was always the ultimate goal. And looking at how events are connecting all the dots, like Lisa said, and we're watching all of these things happening, from the withdrawal of funding from the Vatican, from the withdrawal of funding from these embassies, to key individuals in prominent places in the financial industry resigning and stepping down. We are looking at the dismantling of the financial system. We're looking at, a lot of times, because it's so easy to get distracted from the bigger picture, because we're so involved with how am I going to pay my bills and what's going to happen, with my mortgage, and I've got this student loan and all of these things, dealing with our everyday coping with day-to-day life activities, the whole 3D experience that we've come to find ourselves in. That a lot of times it's very, very easy to miss sight of the larger things that's going on and actually see the forest for the trees. And we were talking about this, and it may have shocked a lot of people, but it didn't really shock me to hear Heather say there is not going to be a financial system.
You know what? Bob, when you and I got interviewed, what was it, a week ago, with Sierra Neblina on her show, on Galactic U show, a lot of the, my thoughts on, she wanted to know about the currency revaluation and the idea of a new financial system. And, there's going to be people that are listening to this right now. Those that are in the listening audience that have been waiting on pins and needles for these documents for the last 6 weeks or so, that are probably going to be frustrated by this dialogue.
Oh, somebody dropped off.
Yeah, it was just Brian, I think.
I talked to Dee today.
We missed you, Brian. You jumped.
Basically, what Dee said is, did I go robot?
No, you just.
Did I go robot? Am I back?
Together. You're back now.
Oh,
you're back now. Yeah.
Am I good? Am I back now? So I don't know where you lost me, but what I was saying was when I talked to Dee, and she was kind of giving me. I asked her. I said, "Hey, I'm just curious. What's your take on the whole document thing?" And she said the documents are going to come out. She said, but what's going to surprise people is that when they come out, they very well may not be necessary anymore. And I when I heard her say that, it rang so true throughout my consciousness, because my whole problem from the very beginning with the currency revaluation, the whole RV thing, was that it was only going to benefit, prosperity packages aside, I'm just talking RV here, it was only going to benefit the few people percentage-wise that invested in some of the other currencies. Well, what good is that when you have millions and billions of other people in the world who are still going to be in the same position as they were before with no money, let alone no dinar, no Vietnamese dong, no Federal Reserve notes, whatever it might be. And when you have a solution that's brought to the fore that's supposed to be the bridge to getting humanity back to peace and prosperity and abundance for all, revaluation isn't going to get you there, just like a new financial system isn't going to get you there, because when you have as much backroom doors that have been deals being made throughout the history of our monetary system. Any new plan that involves the same currencies or even new currencies but negotiated behind closed doors, most likely by the same individuals, is just going to be more of the same. We actually had a caller call in, Bob, you probably remember. A woman called in and she asked, maybe this is the show that I did on before, she asked, well, what if, she's like, I am invested in art and it'll give me some breathing room, even if it is just a bridge. Why is that bad? And I said, my response was, it's not bad. I said, listen, if the RV rolls out and the people that are invested in it get paid out and that brings financial relief to you and your family, God bless it. More power to you. We all know, I think everybody that's on this panel and people that are in the audience that are listening, they know people that are invested into the dollar that are going to be hooked up if that goes down. But it's not going to be the answer. It's not going to be the end. And it would only be just a bridge. And who knows how it's all going to roll out. But when Dee told me that, because there's been a couple dialogues back and forth with Heather that I shared on my blog that have got shared throughout the blog, talking about the universal value system and that not being revolving around a monetary system. My initial reaction was, thank God, because when it's set up that way, is my final point. When it's set up that way, and if it's any new system that doesn't help and provide assistance and allow everybody in the world an opportunity to flourish like it was designed by the absolute plan, by when we came here to inhabit this planet where thousands of years of peace and prosperity like it's been prophesized, then it's not in the best interest of all that is, and it's just some other new system that's coming that's going to replace the old one that's not necessarily going to be in the best interest of everyone. So I when these documents do come out, it would be heaven sent. No pun intended. If by that point
you really hit the show with a rant, didn't you? I mean, just straight out of the gate.
Not everybody's going to take those documents in and get access, and that's the missing ingredient, is that all these people, probably let's say 1 million people, do it. That very well may set off a chain reaction to allow for many others to follow. But at the end of the day, it's still not. It doesn't feel. Me going into the bank and getting $100 million, and Bob, the way that you said it was absolutely, completely spot on, which is the problem is people are struggling so bad right now they can't focus on anything else. If everybody that is listening to this call we're in a place where they have the resources to not feel like they just can never get ahead, where they have their shelter, their food, their well-being taken care of, there wouldn't be so much concern about these documents coming out. We would be looking well past the documents. And that's where I'm starting to kind of focus on now, which is, what's that going to look like? Because that's where we're headed, where we don't need them anymore. But they are coming. For everybody that's been waiting for them, they are coming. And I don't understand exactly what events that Heather's waiting for, just as much as, probably nobody other than Heather can explain it. But, we're already, the 19th of August, and September is, for a lot of reasons that we've discussed on previous shows, talked about how September is going to be a big month. So that's kind of my take. I guess probably not going to have anything else to add for the rest of the call because I just got it out all at the very beginning. So go ahead, take it away.
Well, from what I gathered from the brief conversation that I had with Heather was that those who are have a vested interest in keeping this game going, it took a while for them to finally get the clue that there is not going to, because what they've been waiting for, these bankers, and they've been waiting to be saved, because this whole revaluation system was going to, give them instant liquidity. And it was going to give them instant, it was going to, because right now they're not getting any money. They're starving. They can't access any of the harvesting that they've had access to before. So they were really, really trying to push this whole revaluation and reboot of the financial system and the introduction to this new financial system, which would basically save their asses. But every time they tried, every attempt, it didn't go through. And the reason why is because there is no new financial system. Not going to happen. And
sorry, there's lots of noise in the background because I've got the girls are packing and taking loads out to the car and doing all sorts of stuff. So that's what that noise is. The train, however, is not mine for.
That would be my train. Thank you. Bob, I agree with you completely. I remember when Heather, when she explained the whole RV thing. You know, it kind of all revolves around the dinar and the dong, but it made sense to me when she gave context to the story, which is how can you reevaluate the dinar, and the whole idea is that Iraq is flourishing with oil, and all of their resources are now being used to revalue their currency. But since both wars where we went in and invaded things and literally took control of their financial system over there, who's it going to benefit if they reevaluate their currency when we're the one controlling all of the oil and we're the ones controlling the economy? It might not appear that way on the mainstream news, but that's what's happening. And that's actually what's happening with a lot of economies around the world. The whole embassy thing being used as a guise to go in and destabilize economies and corrupt their politicians and try to gain vested interest in all their biggest companies and all of their resources. And so when you have something like that, that being the case, it makes a whole lot more sense when you see the whole idea of it's just a shuffling of the cards. It's just moving the money from one account, to another. And
well, Brian, I mean, let me sort of, I don't know. I'm just trying to work this out in my own head as we go. The question is, in the chat room, for example, why they broke? Because they're still collecting money from loans. They're still collecting the interest from the people. They're still harvesting off us. So why they broke? And my thoughts on that are that what they collect off us in terms of repayments and interest is literally the small change compared to what they do with our signatures. And that small change doesn't cover their needs.
And again, what they're passing around is not money.
No. They're all IOUs.
They're passing around currency. They have no money. Okay, the only money that they were ever able to get their hands on is when you take that promissory note and you sign it, and then they can take it to the Treasury window or the Federal Reserve window, and then they can get money. But what they're passing around to each other and what they're passing around to us is not money. They are all bank notes, just IOUs. Now, typically,
why they wouldn't,
what you
again,
should
which
be
is
able
why
to
you
do,
wouldn't accept your dove, because it's
right.
real money.
Exactly.
This is a quote from the Federal Reserve Bank, a guy named Robert H. Hamphill in Atlanta. He said, "We are completely dependent on the commercial banks. Someone has to borrow every dollar we have in circulation, cash or credit. If the banks create ample synthetic money, we are prosperous. If not, we starve. We are absolutely without a permanent money system. It is the most important subject intelligent persons can investigate and reflect upon. It is so important that our present civilization may collapse until it becomes widely understood and the defects remedied very soon."
Well, when you're dealing in the 3D reality, what constitutes money, real money, is gold and silver. And what you've been seeing going on is countries, they're not accepting bonds, they're not accepting Federal Reserve notes, they're all asking for gold.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? There's no gold.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to put a reminder out in case anybody hasn't read it yet, but the article that Dee put up on removing the shackles is something that everyone needs to read and really, really get their head around. Because it goes back to what, sorry, I'm having one of those moments. I'm really not here. Please leave a message. It's not funny. It hasn't happened on air before. But
It is. It's the first time I've been able to really laugh at your expense, truly. So continue.
Always here for your amusement, Brian.
Okay. It's coming.
Pleasure to serve.
Coming.
Well, I see now I don't even know what I was saying.
You're talking about the post that Dee put up, what she was talking about with whatever point you're going to make.
Yeah, whatever point I was going to make. Okay, we've watched them try time and time again to get this RV through. Dee highlighted in that article that, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm seeing it just in my own personal life too, that anything that is not done in integrity, that is not done, that where there's any form of fraud, people are getting busted. Now, if you're out there, if you've got teenagers, as I do, then you're seeing them bite themselves on the ass all the time because they're not getting away with anything. Anything they try and pull off, they're getting themselves caught. And if you try and do anything that's not entirely in integrity or open and honest, you're going to get caught. And you're going to get caught a hell of a lot quicker than you would a year ago or even 6 months ago. So here we are in a situation where they're trying to bring out this RV, and it is not in integrity. It is a fraud. It is not for the highest good of all. And they can't do it time and time again. The last deadline was the 15th. Absolutely on or before the 15th. And it didn't happen. Now, as Dee mentions, there was 4 people who were trying to push that through, or at least 4 people whose energy was backing it. And 3 of them apparently are no longer here. And one capitulated at the last moment. Mm. Now this is where the conversation starts to get really esoteric. But right now, and I don't think we're going to see it. I don't see how they can turn the RV around and bring it out in such a way that it does benefit all and is for the greatest good of all. Because it needs to be completely reworked from its current structure to do that.
So it's almost like it's not necessarily that they can't. They just know that there's an immediate energetic accounting that if anybody that's responsible that does push it through, look to these other 3 energetic, whoever they were. I know there was a question that I got on my blog. People want to know who they are. I don't know.
The question keeps getting raised, where's the gold? And every time someone goes and requests their gold, like for instance, China has asked for its gold back, and different banks are requesting gold. But when they go into their vaults, what they have on their books and what's in their vaults are 2 very, very, very different numbers. Where's all the gold going? And every time they try to move it, it never ends up where it's supposed to be. Now, we had talked about gold and the attributes of gold and what gold is actually capable of doing and why gold is so valuable, because gold has the ability to hold DNA.
Yeah, you remember that article that came out a while back that talked about how they identify gold through its DNA? They actually take a sample of the gold.
Yep. Yep. That's how they know where to source it is and where it comes from. Which is probably a big part of the reason why it can't be manipulated. The question keeps coming up too. Where's off-world? Where is it going? I just I can only always give my opinion. And I'm pretty sure the same goes for Bob and for Lisa.
what we're having here is a discussion. I don't think any of us can make a statement and say we know exactly where the gold is going. At least I can only make that statement for myself. I don't know, but I have seen multiple sources all saying the same thing, which is when the gold is brought out when they're going around and doing this Basel III compliancy checks, that when and if any gold was brought out to be certified that it was in their possession, the Basel III, the people that were checking for Basel III, do your research on Basel III. What you will find is there is not 1 ounce of proof that any country, any with a capital A-N-Y country, is there any proof that anybody is Basel III compliant? Why? Why is that? I don't know, but that's in mainstream media. Basel III is an MSM thing. That's mainstream. If countries are legitimately able to show they're Basel III compliant, why can't the people of those countries see the proof? No pictures, no certified letters, no, maybe a stamp of approval, but where's that coming from? What did that guy see? So the whole thing is just, it gives me the heebie-jeebies.
To be, I don't know where the gold is disappearing to, but the fact that it's disappearing, I think, is not in dispute.
I learned when I started down this track of researching whistleblowers and, watching some of the Project Camelot YouTube videos and finding out about Black Ops projects and finding out about like Paperclip and Philadelphia and the Montauk Chair and, all of these other just where the rabbit hole led, right? I realized there's so much more to this world than what meets the eye. And I told myself at that time, never discount anything that you hear. Use your discernment, but never look at something and say that's so far-fetched, that's too hard to believe that you totally discount it. Because based on what you've seen with your eyes in this world up to this point. And since then, I've never written anything off. I don't care how crazy it sounds. If it sounds crazy, if it feels crazy, if it doesn't make sense and it feels like garbage, then I'll go with that, but I'm not going to try to convince anybody of that because I can only go off of my inner compass. But there's a lot more going on to this whole story. We cover the tip of the iceberg on this show. We think it's a big lion-sized bite. But in the reality of what's really going on, it's the absolute tip of the iceberg, because the whole iceberg is always so much bigger than what you're seeing, and that's a big part of what I feel is about to change. I feel like the whole iceberg, whatever it happens, the whole iceberg is going to be revealed. And that we've called it by many names in the past. Absolute data, whatever you want to call it. And so right now at this point, to all the questions that are coming in about, like the gold and some of these other things, I can honestly tell you I have no idea where that damn gold is. But I know that whatever they're saying is happening with it in the mainstream, that's one source of information I will never trust. Until our media becomes the mainstream media and the 5D media network is the new CNN, and CNN is now, they're panhandling for quarters on the sidewalk. Even that's old, because when this whole thing goes down, it's all eternal essence anyways. That's what I'm trying to say. But
you done?
No, I'm going to continue going. Let me just take a sip of my Italian sparkling mineral water from Whole Foods.
Well, last week we talked about internal tech, and the time, it feels like we're getting very close to flicking that switch and flicking that switch that turns on our internal tech. So what comes with that? One of the things that we talked about was the ability to get yourself from A to B without the need for external transport, and instant manifestation. And then I had a conversation with someone yesterday who is a very powerful energy worker, who is doing some experiments so just privately in their own time, and he's actually produced a coin, replicated it, you could say, from one hand and ended up with one in each hand. And in the course of that conversation, they said what they really want to do is gold bars. And once they've got to that point where it's duplicatable and they can do it more, as often as they want, when they want, they're going to start teaching people how to do it. And I instantly had a flashback of Heather talking about the gold being in the streets. Now, can you imagine what it would be like if even just 100 people or even 1,000 people learnt how to do this? And out in public, we're just manifesting gold bars. You've got Heather's gold in the streets, and then you've also got people realizing that, well, if you can just create it out of nothing, if you can just manifest it, then why are we considering it, this valuable backing for a currency?
Right. Why manufacture gold when you can manufacture what it is that you need?
Exactly.
That you want to, quote unquote, buy. But nonetheless, we're at a point right now where they cannot move forward, nor can we, until we come together. And there is a realization that we're all coming to this, this realization that you need us. We need them. We need each other. And you can't look at them as the enemy. They can't look at us as the enemy anymore. We've got the cigarette. They've got the lighter. And how will this be resolved? Well, understand that everything that for the first time, people have been under duress for quite a long time. We've been getting the shitty end of the stick for far, far too long. And I feel it and I understand it, but by that same token, I know how to be poor. Right? They, for the first time, are starting to tighten their belts. So, if you wanted my guess in who's going to give out first in this whole Mexican standoff, my bet is on them. They'll give out first because I've been poor my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, something has to happen, and it has to happen quickly. And that absolute tech would make all things irrelevant, in my opinion. But from what I'm gathering is that this whole idea of needing a bridge, do we need a bridge? I'm ready to go without money. I don't need a representation of my value. Does everybody, is everybody at that point? I don't know. I really don't. But
here's the thing: you're going to have a lot of people that pose the argument of we need a bridge because there's so many people around the world that aren't up to speed with everything that's going on that it's going to be too big of an adjustment to go from a monetary-based society to a society that's not based on monetary and capitalism, financial gain. And my response to that
that's
is
an idea
hogwash.
that's been put forth, Brian.
I know. My response to that is hogwash. Because there's certain people that can't imagine it right now. What does Einstein say? You can't fix a problem from the same level of consciousness that created it. And I say that whatever we're on the brink of happening right now is going to be so big that all the people even that aren't up to speed will be brought up to speed very quickly. No one left behind. And if that's the case, I never saw this. I wasn't one of those guys that ever saw this transition as being one that was going to last a couple hundred years or 1,000 years or even 10 years. I really truly see this as when we get to the point where all the cards are on the table, which I feel we're right there, it can happen in an instant.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be a bit like that too. I mean, whether it's an instant, define instant, but I don't think we're looking at years of processing and change. It doesn't feel like it's going to play out that way to me.
Yeah.
Well, and at the same time, there are a lot of high-level forces, light forces, inside the system, that are also bringing the system down from within. There's.
Well, Bob, let's address this the last piece that, and I think Dee talked about it in the article too, is that the last doing that they have up their sleeve is to expose themselves, and by that we mean the divines. Right? Now, think back of all of the people that you've seen interviews with over the last few years on things like Project Bluebeam and on what George Kavasilis has said, and where they're going to try and project these images into the sky, and it'll be culturally specific. I mean, I have no idea whether that's what the divines coming out will look like. But you've also tie in the prophecy of the Antichrist showing themselves, or this could be what they're talking about. I mean, if anything had to fit the description of the Antichrist to me, it would be the divines exposing themselves. We're here to save you.
Somebody should for all the people that are listening to this that aren't familiar with the whole divine dialogue, maybe give a little bit of background on that, because that might throw some people off.
Okay, so to first clarify, when I say divine, I don't mean holy in the traditional sense of the word. Bob, you're better at defining this.
Yeah, that's probably a Bob.
The divines are the ones who like to lord it over everyone. In order to be divine, someone has to not be divine, and those someones happen to be us. So the divines are the ones they call themselves divines. This is not our name. This is what they call themselves. They are the power behind the power. They are
those who constructed the hierarchy system throughout the universe, not just here on this planet.
Mm-hmm. A lot of the off-world power, or and some of them are physical beings, some of them are not, but they all have that same quality of power and control. You might call them the powers that were, but I'm not talking about the senators and bankers and the ones who play the middlemen. I'm talking about the ones behind the curtain, the wizards behind the curtain.
So somebody asked, what are they, fallen angels, ETs, or something else? This is how I've understood it. The boots on the ground, the 13 families, some of the Anunnaki that are in body, that are controlling things here on the planet, these so-called divines are their handlers. These are the ones that are calling the shots. And basically what they are is identity thieves. They're the ones that come in that manipulate a lot of the channeled messages from people like Archangel Michael, or, the lords.
I'll give you a classic example. The whole Mr. Sino and the Swiss Indo thing Who was Mr. Sino? Where were they getting all of their instructions from? Turns out Mr. Sino is not on Earth. He is channeled. Now, a lot of people, oh, well, that's hard. That's a whole bunch. This is real. Channeling is real. And it's been such for a long, long time. Before there were cell phones or anything, they were still getting instructions. And they will tell you. You look in some of the people who have actually wrote about this, they'll tell you this is the way it works. That is just one example of a divine.
So John Whitmore asked, thanks, Brian, but what are they, angels, ETs, or what? So here's what I understand them as, is they're multidimensional beings who get their power from the hierarchy system. And I'm not talking about just the hierarchy system on this planet. We're talking 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D, all the way up to 9D or 12D, that don't want the whole thing to be reconciled back to absolute, because when that happens, they lose their position on within that hierarchy, and that's where they've gotten their power from. So they're multidimensional beings that are identity thieves to people like Archangel Michael.
That question, are they angels, demons, ETs, or what? Right?
They're impersonating all of the above.
What's that?
Yep.
They're impersonating all of the above. You will find them throughout the dimensions and throughout the different galactics and what have you. And I'm not saying that anything off-world is a divine by any means. I'm saying they show up in all of these structures, including here.
And we are also angels, ETs, and all of those other things just as well. In the end, they're eternal essence. And so is everybody. They're,
cool. Yeah.
I think we explained that for him.
Yeah, I think he got it. And John, if you don't, it's okay. You're not the only one. These are all things. All these things that we're talking about. If there's somebody, I feel bad for the guy that's tuning into this show for their first time. I feel really bad for that guy. So if there are any you of that guy out there, I'm sorry, because I realize this is a kind of a continuation for a discussion that's been going on for the last 8 months. And 8 months ago would have been extremely new to me, and we've been at this for 8 months. I think that the most important thing for me that I could say here is my whole position on all of this is so simple. There's still a lot. I can admit that I don't know what I don't know. I'm happy to admit the things I don't know that I don't know. I am an open vessel. I have the ability to surrender to the process and surrender to the flow without getting hung up on all of the details. Some of the things that I've said over the course of the last 8 months may prove to be completely false and completely wrong. I didn't report them with the intention of being false or wrong. Maybe they're just a little bit off from what the way that it really works, but I have surrendered to this process, and in that surrender, the timing of this process, 150,000%, because there is a much bigger plan going on here, one that I have no intention of trying to force my own agenda upon, because it's bigger than me, it's bigger than Lisa, it's bigger than Bob, it's bigger than all of us, and it always has everything under control. Always. It's fun to talk about my opinions and what my perspectives and how I think things work, but I have no attachments to any of them, because the day is going to come where all the answers are brought forth to the table. Then everybody can know in absolute truth form what's been going on from the dawn of our existence. So in the meantime, it's okay to speculate. It's no one's intention to try to commandeer anything or steer people the wrong way or anything like that. We've been accused of that before. But I think that the people that listen to these shows that have been listening for months now know absolutely, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that's not our intention, and that we are completely pure in our intent, and so that surrender has been the biggest key for me. because it just makes following the process exciting and fun, with not getting hung up on any of the details.
Just putting on, for me, looking at the whole situation, as far as the revaluation and Basel III and all of those things that they were planning on doing, if they do release the RV and it goes through, we have a document. That's our response. We already have the documents ready. And every single one of us are Basel III compliant. All right? So they're not going to, if they release the RV, we're going to release the documents. Okay? If they don't release the RV, we don't need the documents. So it's like, all right, we're waiting. It's your move. What are you going to do? And the checkmate, it's one of those things where you're looking at the chessboard, and it's their move, and they only have one move to make, and the next move is going to be checkmate, and they know it. And they're doing that thing, looking at the board and looking at the board, and no matter how much they look at the board, it's not going to change their situation.
Also, you've got to remember what the reevaluation and the prosperity programs and all of those were really about. And we talked about that a couple of months ago, it was about bringing Earth up to compliance with the galactic monetary system, or what did we call it then?
The Universal Exchange.
No. It's like the stock exchange, the International Stock Exchange, the Universal Stock Exchange, and that we are a commodity on that. And it was about bringing us up to speed and in compliance with that. No matter what they tell us it is here, and for how it's about to, it's supposed to be alleviating problems here, that's what it was really for. So if you look at it from that perspective, take a step back and see the bigger picture of it. The whole thing was designed to make us compliant at a universal level with a divine plan. But at the same time, we've got one aspect of this awakening is the collapse of all of these hierarchies and dimensions throughout creation. And from the top down, if you want to look at it from the top down, knowing that it's all coming to an end, knowing that nothing like that can come into play, is the whole the energy with which we create now has changed. We're not doing the darkness comes first, and through darkness we create light. That game's over. So I did have a point to all this. I swear to God I did.
If you think of it, let me pick up where you left off, and if you think of it, jump back in. Because the biggest aha for me in the last 8 months was when I finally understood what it meant when it was said that we are the value.
Yeah.
When I finally got that once and for all. Because when Heather told me that, and on that first interview, that long talk that we did with Heather, with Dee and myself, she said that, I was like, what are you talking about, woman? It was so foreign of a concept to me. And now people are en masse are finally starting to get it. Currency, money, gold only has value because when more than two people agree that it's valuable. Bob said brilliantly in our Galactic U interviews here in Galena, he goes, two people are on a deserted island. If one person is on a deserted island, he said, I'll give you a chest full of gold or another person. Which would you choose? Chest full of cash. Which would you choose? The cash full of money, you might be able to burn it, make a fire, keep yourself warm for a little while. But another person, they could build things and go hunt, and they could give you companionship, and so which would you choose if you were somebody to talk to? Which would you choose? That's a brilliant example. What happens when 7 billion people wake up and realize that we are the value? The currencies collapse when a country decides together that the money isn't worth anything. That's how currencies collapse, because you have enough people that say, guess what? This stuff they've been telling us is money ain't worth shit. And then all of a sudden that word gets out and the freaking currency goes into the toilet. That's what's happening with the Federal Reserve note right now. There is no money in our society. It's all debt. It's all debt. And so when everybody realizes that the true value is within them, that's when magic can happen. Absolute magic.
The other thing I think that people are getting stuck on or confused on, not everybody, but some, is the idea of being and doing, that the value comes from doing, and by the doing they think it means physical activity. I have value because I can build a house, or I have value because I can plant a garden, I have value because I can do healing on somebody, or it's the doing that has the value. But it's not. It's just the being. The fact that you exist. Every time you feel an emotion, every time you feel gratitude, every time you visualize something better, every time you have a desire, that is a doing. And that your very being is where the value is. It's not exactly in what you can do with it in terms of physical activity.
And you know why? You know why that is, Lisa? That's exactly right. Because one day we won't need to exert labor to create things. We will just be manifestors, and we could manifest whatever we want. So, because
I get emails all the time and questions, but what about the elderly who can't do anything? Or what about children who can't do anything yet? Or what about the handicapped who won't be able to do in order to express value? It's like they don't have to.
Exactly.
Not in that way.
Those questions all come from the idea that you have to earn a living.
Yes.
Is Grandma still alive? Heart still beating? She's got infinite value.
Yeah.
Is the baby alive? Is his heart still beating? And even, and we're not even going to get into that, but even if their heart wasn't beating, they still have value. You can't lose it. It is you. It is your presence. It is your soul. Your consciousness matrix. And it's priceless. It's priceless. You don't have to do anything to earn a living. You're alive.
It's going to be, I think we hit a roadblock. Some people do. Some people hit a roadblock going down this line of thought because they're so conditioned, through no fault of their own, they're so conditioned by the existing monetary system that it's impossible for them to comprehend some of the things that we're saying because it's so foreign to their thinking minds that it's hard for them to be able to understand it. But think back before the time that we had a monetary system on this planet. It wasn't all that long ago in the grand scheme of things. Think back to that time, and if you had, back then, the dialogue was, can you imagine a system that we're going to have to rely on some material outside of ourselves to be able to purchase things and provide sustenance and food and shelter for our families? It's going to require that we collect things in order to be able to spend them. That would have been foreign back then.
Well, you know what? A lot of people think that, well, that's impractical and that kind of society can't work. But although not perfect, right? Although not perfect, the Rainbow family has been doing it for over 30 years.
Hmm. The Rainbow family?
Yeah, the you're not familiar with the Rainbow family?
I don't think so.
As new age as you are.
Don't judge me.
The Rainbow family, they are. It was actually a group that was started in 1972, and they exist on national forests all over the planet. They are a community. And they travel from forest to forest, and I don't even know how many of them there are, but they're in the millions across the planet, and they operate on no hierarchy. There's no leader. Everything is done in a democratic way. They don't charge anything for anything. Everybody works, and nobody gets paid, and they take care of each other.
You know what, Bob? I see it like this. If we're all eternal essence, if we're all a fragment of source, then there's no way to measure that, okay, there's 10% of source in you, there's 5 in you, there's 50 in you. You can't. That's ridiculous to me. We are all equal expressions of source, and it's not judged at all, but it's certainly not judged on how we choose to express it. And how can you put value on? I mean, somebody who wants to express it through designing or building habitats for people, that's a huge gift. But how do you compare that or somehow create a value exchange based on representation between that and somebody else who facilitates healing, or somebody else who tells children stories that ignite their imagination, or somebody else? I mean, how do you can't compare them.
You can't. You absolutely can't. It's like drops in an ocean. All the drops in the ocean are part of the ocean, right? Is there any part of the ocean that's not separate from the whole ocean? No, the whole thing is one big organism, all parts being equal.
Okay, that work here is done. I'm going now. Not that I was ever really...
Yes. Me too. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. No, you're here. You're here. But we do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hands up.
I'm sorry. I lost you guys.
We could still... you're back. We heard you.
Oh, you could hear me the whole time. Oh, right. Sorry about that, everybody. Ranting
Lucy,
on my
you are
own.
right on tonight. So apparently not being here completely is a good thing. All right. Area code 727. Area code 727. You've got your hand up?
727.
Okay, I will mute you again. And we'll move on. Area code 805.
Oh, that's...
805?
Hello?
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 How are you?
This could go on for a while.
Hello?
We can hear you. What's your name?
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear us? We can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
What's your name?
Hello? My name's Mitch.
Hey, Mitch.
Hey, how's it
Mitch
going?
you.
Good to talk to you guys again.
You too, Mitch. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I missed you, Brian. Where have you been, dude? You been on vacation
Hey,
or
man.
something?
Hey, man, I missed you too. I was out of town for a week, yeah.
Yeah. Good
It was
deal,
nice.
man. This is totally off the point, but I live in Santa Barbara, dude, and if you ever want to take a trip up here, I've got some extra room. I know you live in San Diego, and I'd just love to hang out with you, dude. I'm a yoga
Awesome,
teacher, and I know you do Reiki, and it's kind of like peanut butter and jelly, so if you ever wanted to hang out. But, hey, I had a statement and a question. My statement is, I don't know if you guys have ever heard this story, but the story goes there's these 2 prisoners, and they get released. And one prisoner says to the other, I'm so happy to be out. And the other prisoner says, you know what, I'll never forgive our captors. And the other guy says, well, if you're still in jail then. And I think it's kind of what's going on, because, people talk about heaven, heaven, it's not a place, it's a state of mind, and it could be had at any time by accepting what is at this moment. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but maybe there's someone out there who it might help. But my question was,
Excellent.
do you guys ever
Excellent.
have you guys read that crap report, or what's it called, the Zap report?
Freudian slip. It is called the Zap report. The guy that took over for Poof.
Yeah. Do you know where that guy comes from? I was watching some Benjamin Fulford thing on Who's Who, and I think it said he was like part of the Rothschild clan or something like that. Is like he represents some guy that was named Poof, and he calls himself Poofiness or something now.
After what Benjamin Fulford said about who we are, I take everything
No,
he says as a whack.
yeah. No, it's just kind of this spiritual smut type stuff. I definitely, I don't know. I don't know why Benjamin Fulford doesn't say anything about Oppt or the former Oppt.
Well, he does actually. He when we were in Africa, he said that we were being chased by the CIA in Ethiopia. So
hiding out in caves and somehow managing to do radio shows.
Yeah. So I actually used to follow Benjamin Fulford's. I read his messages that he comes out with every week, and after that I just stopped because he's actually a contact of American Kabukis. They like email back and forth, and he knows American Kabuki is one of the the lead people that puts out information, let's say, about One People's Public Trust. And he didn't even email him to find out if that story was legitimate or not. He just published it. So that makes a really good example and illustration of what I was talking about earlier in regards to how much garbage there is out there, and you have to really, right now, it's thick. You got to be able to really weed yourself through it. I have no opinion per se myself of this guy's app. I mean, I don't really even read his messages anymore, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah. Just like that stuff that keeps on coming up on American Kabuki, and I think that I saw that there was comments in there in the last report, but before that I didn't notice the comments, and I was like, damn, what's this stuff doing up? Because it seems like the furthest thing from transparency. It's like, I don't know. I don't mean to rehash things. What do you think about that, Bob?
Well, just like Brian said, you've really gotta use your tools of resonance, your discernment.
Yeah.
There was a period of time that I actively checked every blog, watched what was going on NASDAQ and what was going on with through Bloomberg, and trying to put all pieces together. But then once I started asking questions internally, I very rarely get information unless someone comes right out and tells me, "Oh, did you hear this happen, or did you see this?" Somebody will post something on my page. But most of the information I get now, if it doesn't resonate with the information that I'm getting internally, it's not true for me. Period.
Yeah, dude.
That's
It seems pretty obvious, but that Zap report thing, it just never hits my gut right. It's like I just like to read stuff.
To me, that report is definitely supporting the whole new financial system in inverted commas, and it contradicts itself a lot of the time too, from what I've read. Debt forgiveness on one hand, and yet not on the other. And you'll still have to pay. There'll be debt forgiveness, but you'll still have to pay back your credit cards, and there'll be. I mean, what?
Yeah. Yeah. And even that term, debt forgiveness, there is no debt.
Yeah, what's to forgive?
Fraud forgiveness,
Yeah, that's it. That's the same reason I don't resonate with anything that Neil Keenan puts out either. It's all about it's just another flavor of bullshit from my perspective. So
it's to me it's like watching wrestling. It's a really good show, but it's not. It's staged. It's not. It's like watching a really good performance. It's not real. It's a cartoon. They're playing with cartoon money. It's not real. You watch that NASDAQ go up, and everybody's panicking, and it's not real money.
This is another reason why when people say, oh, you got to go buy gold, got to go buy gold. I mean, a lot of people got into that whole phase of buying gold in the commodity market. I mean, there's going to be there's some people that went out and actually they purchased gold coin or gold bullion, but a lot of people went out and bought gold in the commodity market. And anybody that's familiar with commodities, that gold never even touches your hands. I mean, talk about, oh my gosh, please don't do that, because I think in the LIBOR scandal and all these new scandals that are breaking, seems like every week, about the energy markets now being corrupted. I mean, the LIBOR market was the craziest one because, in my opinion, I mean, at the time, it was the biggest financial story ever to break mainstream media, because you got all this debt from all around the world that's all fraudulent in and amongst itself. Student loans, credit cards, mortgages, car notes, what have you. They're all based on fraud anyways. And not only are they based on fraud, they were rigging the interest rates to which you had to pay back the fraudulent debt. Oh my gosh, talk about insane. So all the numbers that scroll across. I used to be a commodities trader. All the numbers that scroll across those ticker tapes now, I don't even see numbers anymore. I just see I got bullshit. I got some more bullshit. Like, there's somebody pulling the strings on all of those figures. So, I mean, it's laughable at this point how much the whole thing is just this dog and pony show. It's a circus.
It's a similar thing that I discovered when
without the fun
I had that
and candy and
conversation.
popcorn.
I don't think you can hear you, Bob.
Oops, is the mic off?
No, I can hear you.
It's the same as the conversation that I had with my banker. He was trying to sell me the same story of, well, we have to recoup money, and collateral. And I'm like, I'm not playing games with you. I'm not stupid. I'm not buying that. I know how the banking system works. What you're telling me is a bunch of bullshit. And he knew it. He wouldn't argue with me. He wouldn't answer my questions. He knew. And at that point, the conversation changed. It was a matter of the thing being non-negotiable. We can't trade this. We can't trade it. Well, why do you feel that you need to trade my money?
Brian, can you speak? We can only hear you typing.
I think he's lost his.
There you go.
He's off in hyperspace.
We can hear him typing, but we can't hear him speaking. Okay.
He can't hear us, I don't think.
I guess Benjamin Fulford sent out his hackers. He's like, oh my God, they're bashing me. No one's gonna read my report again. One other question: what do you guys think about David Wilcox?
I think
Mr. Auckland, Mr. Epic. I don't know. Did he get up this morning? It's probably epic.
David Wilcox?
Everything the guy does is epic.
My personal opinion of David, I think David is a really good person with very, very good intentions. He's got an awful lot of ego, but a lot of the information when he's dealing with scientific things and everything is pretty accurate. But
he's
a lot
really
of
good researcher.
He only knows what is given to him or what he's allowed to know.
Yeah.
But I will give David this. He does do his internal work to vet information, and for that I respect him. But there's again. David,
you must be talking about
all these other ones, even myself, right? Or Lisa or Heather. If it doesn't resonate with you, I don't care what it is that we say. It's not true for you.
Yeah.
And you've got to determine for yourself what is true. This idea of, all that is just, it's information. It's all just information. It's data. And it doesn't have any relevance unless you can put all the pieces together and it makes some sort of sense. Now, a lot of the information coming out with Ben Fulford, different ones, and if you take what they're saying as accurate, and you try to put all the pieces together with what you know internally, it doesn't all make sense. Something's not right. And unless you can do that, you know, you will fight anything that anybody says. You can say, oh well, that's gospel. He said this and that one said that, blah blah blah. But if it doesn't make sense and it doesn't work, then it can't be true.
But at the same time, Bob, I know that I've come across pieces of information that at the time I wasn't ready for, so it didn't ring true for me.
Doesn't matter. It may become true for you later on.
But it might become true for me later on. And I guess it's about timing and where I'm at the time.
It's about you. It's all about you. That's what I'm trying to say. It's all about you. Where are you in your own, if you still have a slave mentality, you're going to accept a lot of things that are being said as true because that's your reality. But once you break out of that thought program, you expand, then a lot of what they're saying is no longer true to you. It's no longer your truth. And the more you expand, the more your truth is going to change. The more you come to realize, and it's all about you. It's about your personal realization of who you are. So when you know who you are absolutely, then you are in a position to understand absolute truth. Otherwise, it's a progression. And one of the big things that we've been trying to help people to see is who they are absolutely, to realize themselves absolutely, that you are absolutely priceless, valueless, and and if the universe didn't need you, you wouldn't be here. That you are creator. In every aspect of the word that you call God or supreme being or source, you are that which is. And all that is that which is. So no part is greater than the other. It all is. So who are you is the question. What are you trying to be? What do you want to see in your reality? What no longer resonates with you? What are you willing to accept? What are you willing to limit yourself with? And those questions become more relevant than anything what anyone else is doing. And this is what I see as the transformation as we're moving through this whole progression. People were saying, well, she promised this and she promised that and blah, blah, blah. It's not about her. And everything that she is doing is through her, what she feels is right to do. And I'm doing what I feel is right to do. But we're all coming on very, very, very close to the same page now. And you'll notice that that's happening. And it would almost seem as though that we're all coordinating this together, because it would almost seem as though that there's a plan. And I'll tell you that there is. There is an absolute plan. But it involves more than just you, David, the powers that be, Heather, the One People's Trust, Neil Keenan. It's all part of the plan. And a lot of this plan is being executed by people who are completely oblivious to the plan. And a lot of these things are being done by people who are completely unconscious of their own true value and their own true being, but they're following what they know, and that's enough. Because if they needed to know more, that which is would make sure that they knew what they needed to know to do what they need to do at that moment in time. Therefore, there is no delay. There is no particular organized plan by any particular one embodiment's doing. There is an absolute plan which we are all working towards. And the more we come closer together on the same page, the more we're starting to see what that absolute plan may look like, or what it's starting to look like. It's getting clearer and clearer as we go on. But at the point, when we were coming, I was coming through, this whole 8-month period of transformation, and that's what it's been. Through this whole 8-month period of transformation, 3 months ago, or 4 months ago, I was like, yes, EVAX, that's the great thing, blah, 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 and we can get people to do. But then the whole idea of being governed by someone else just became disgusting to me. This happened to me. This is how I feel. I don't want to be governed. I don't care if it's new governance. These are changes that I've made in my truth along the road, and a lot of people have been making these changes of their truth along with us. I am in the position right now to share what my truth is at this moment in time, and I guarantee 8 months it'll be something different. I hope to God it will be, because it is.
Wow.
Wow, Bob,
breathe,
you're like
breathe,
on a roll.
breathe.
Sorry.
Take a breath. I mean, that was...
Here's rant out of Bob, my man. Nice
that was a Brian rant on steroids.
I'm sorry.
Well,
He had like the 3-minute boxing round. Okay, break. You got it. No.
So
there have been countless people who have played a part on my journey that have been stepping stones for the next thing. But ultimately, the journey has been to me. It's been back to me. And even I look back and see people who really had a major impact on my life, and what they did was provide a piece of the puzzle, and then I moved on. And puzzle is, who am I? That's the puzzle I'm putting together. And that's the mystery that is continuing to unfold. And it's, for me, it's the way I look at it, when I look out there, that's the job everybody is doing right now. And I think anybody has all the pieces of the puzzle for me? No. They have all the pieces of the puzzle for them.
Or they think they do.
Hopefully they're on the right track to putting them together. But no one person has all of my pieces.
Yep.
Yeah.
Only I do.
Have you guys ever heard of the time bank before?
Yeah, we've been looking into that a bit lately.
Time bank. It's just basically everybody's hour is worth the same. Like you were talking about, who's being, how can you measure being? And we have this thing, I think it's on the East Coast and the West Coast here as well, but it's called the time bank. And everybody's time is worth an hour, whether you're a painter, you're a doctor, you're a massage therapist. And it's like an online thing. They have an online banking system. No money is involved. And everybody's time is worth the same. It's kind of
But
cool.
that, again, it comes down to the doing, doesn't it? I mean, you have to... It's your doing that gives you the credit.
Yeah, but it's just like it's really basic though. Like children could do it as well. Like if a child could watch a dog, or if whatever you could do, whatever your talents are, and it's not really based on you have to have you could go in the negative on the hours, but it's just maybe something that part of it could be taken, as part of a new, I don't know if we even want a new system. But before I go, you guys, I feel exactly like you do. That's why I call you guys, Lisa, is I feel like you guys are puzzle pieces. I really feel connected to the 5D Media Network. And thanks for letting me be part of your conversation.
No, thanks for
Thank you, man.
joining in the conversation.
Yes.
We wouldn't be having one without you guys.
Hey, can you guys see my phone number there?
Yes.
Yes.
Cool. Brian, if you want to take down that number, dude, I live in Santa Barbara, as I said, and, if you ever want to take a trip up the coast and come and hang out and, go over some healing modalities, or just go up to the hills here and chill, or, just
Cool.
to get away, dude, take my number down.
Awesome, Mitch. Will do, man. Thank you so much for calling in.
Cool. All right, you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Mitch. Oops. Mitch, there you go.
Thanks. Got it.
Okay. Area code 732. Oops. Area code 732.
Hello.
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 All right, I guess you can hear me, right?
Yeah, we can.
hear you. Loud and clear.
All right. This is Mark again, East Coast.
Hey, Mark.
What's up, Mark?
Hey, how are you?
Good, darling.
Good, good. If any of you can't hear me clearly, please just
No,
stop
you're
me
loud
and
and
let
clear.
me know. Great, great, great. Okay, I just want to report that I'm still here. My head is still attached to my shoulders, so I guess I'm not going anywhere for a while. Okay, so still here.
Glad to hear it, my man. One piece. Let's keep it that way.
Still in one piece. Still in one piece. Okay, I have a comment. I guess I would say maybe a comment that I will expound on a little, and a question. You know, I know there are other people that are on the call that want to speak as well, so you know I'll try not to monopolize time. But I want to say this. I just want to throw this out there. Everybody on the call that hosts the call, you all make some good points. And some credible points as well. But what I want to say is that when it comes to dealing with people who have their paradigms, as I would say it, not everybody will shift based on my experience over my lifetime. Everybody shifts at different intervals. Not everybody gets it as quickly as, let's say, the person to their left or the person to their right, or the person who's ahead or the person who's behind, or above or below. Yeah, we are all connected, but everybody doesn't shift at the same interval. And sometimes, I guess, you know, things can sound very esoteric and conflict with what people have been used to ingesting by sight or by sound or by word of mouth, knowledge that is brought to them that way, such as I think that, Bob, you may have been mentioning about what she, I guess, being maybe Heather, I don't know if you're speaking directly about her or someone else, but you said what she is doing is based on what she believes to be the best thing to be done for the good of everybody, even though she may have said, but it's not about her. Okay, I can buy that, but we still have to remember there was information that was brought forth and put out or released, which when people see, they gravitate to, and then once they see it, it's up to them to accept it. So sometimes things can sound a little esoteric to where people just really can't get it because they're trying to connect something with something that they've already been exposed to. But this other thing now that they're being exposed to may not be able to resonate with them simply because the way that they're used to taking stuff in, which is maybe, like I said, sight or sound or by word of mouth, you know, knowledge imparted, you just can't make the connection.
Mark, can I just interrupt for a second?
Sure, go right ahead.
Well, the comment that you made that based on your life experience, not everybody gets stuff at the same time. And I absolutely agree with you. We've all, you know, I can just using this particular community as example, people have gotten to places long before I did, and they helped me. They've helped me put the pieces together. They've helped me allow the penny to drop. And I've helped others. And we've all done it at different times. But that was and is in the old energy. And I know what you're saying, but I think that what's coming and what we're in the process of actually going through right now is a change of the whole energetic foundation of that. And I don't think we can look forward with the same frames of reference that we can look back with. What was is what was, and what's coming is going to be different. And it's I guess it's a bit like, you can't solve a problem with the same mentality or the same consciousness that created the problem.
If I were to ask everybody who's listening,
yeah,
and who have been following along, are you the same person you were 6 months ago? And I imagine if I don't get 100% with their hand raised, I'll get near about.
Yeah, mine's up.
Okay. If you have changed, and you've done so drastically, right? And the laws of the universe are what we know them to be, that as within, so without. And if you have changed that much drastically, right, in that short a period of time, guess what? Has to happen. Your outside reality must change. It must. It has no choice but to change. Because your perception and your reality has changed. So, as long as you are focused on what was, have you really changed? On the way that you were or the way things were? Because you keep on looking at the world, you see the world the way you want to see it. I don't see chemtrails. I don't. I'm not saying that they don't exist, but when I look up to the sky, they're never there.
Same.
Why are they never there? Maybe my timing is just off, or I'm just outside at the wrong time. Whatever, but they don't exist in my reality. I don't see them. Why? Because I don't want to. It's not something I chose. I was on a conversation with David. He's a little friend of mine. I call him my little brother. And I told him, I says, start practicing this. Choose something, anything. This is how I do my exercise, and maybe it'll be helpful for others. So I'm going to share it. Pick something that you choose to see in your reality, and it could be anything. A purple Volkswagen. Hold that thought in your mind until you see it. See how long it takes, right? And you may not see a physical. You may see it on the television, or you might hear someone talk about, oh yeah, I just got a purple Volkswagen. That's validation enough, And I would just pick different items that I choose to see in my reality. And you know what? And when I first started doing it, it sometimes would take up to a week. Now, if it doesn't happen in 24 hours, I know I did something wrong. Something's not right. So I use that as a measurement tool to see how things are increasing. And now things are manifest. Sometimes I will say it, and in the next moment, it's there. So, I hate to. I don't want to go on another rant, but it's all about you. It's all about where you are. And the most important thing is who you choose to be and what you choose to do about it. That's it. Be and do. Allow the world to catch up to you, but understand that you are leading the way for yourself. Because ultimately, you really can't do anything for another. You can't. You can't.
Do it for you, and you do it for another.
Right.
Do it for you, and you do it for everyone.
Exactly. Thank you, Lisa.
That's what Heather means by pay energy into you. Because by paying energy into you, you're paying energy into everyone, into the collective.
How do you feel about that, Mark?
I think I'm going to reserve my opinion on that one. For now.
Fair enough.
I'll tell you this much. You kind of lost me. Not totally. I get the concept. But I'm not going to take it any further. I'm not going to take it any further.
I'm gonna give you an example. Have you ever owned a car?
Yes, I have.
Okay, what kind of car did you have?
I had a Honda Accord.
A Honda Accord. Now, when you got your Honda Accord, right, and it was new to you and you were excited, as you're driving down the road, did you notice that you saw an inordinate number of Honda Accords on the road?
Yeah.
Why do you think that was? I'm gonna let you ponder that, okay?
Sure. I'll ponder that. Okay. You know what? This conversation. I mean, if we had time to actually sit down and talk, or phone to phone or face to face, would be great. But I don't want to monopolize time. Only other question,
Mark, I'll give you a call later.
All right, great. That'll work, but there's just I get where you're coming from. I'm walking with you, but sometimes I have to say, whoa, put on the brake there, because there's another, there's something else that has to go into this pot of soup that just doesn't seem to be there, and the reality of the situation is, like you said, it is, but where is, or what is, or if you get where I'm coming from. So I'm just going to leave it there, and, great talking to you guys. I did read the article. I did read the Skype message that was printed, that Heather had the conversation with Dee, and I believe with someone else, and, she mentioned that when the documents come out, they may be relevant. That kind of threw me for a loop, too. I was wondering, is this UV exchange going to be something where we can actually physically, along with, like you were saying, be manifesting a form of energy, use it, maybe similar to but it's just without the bankers. It's just something that maybe physically we can take and say, hey, I want to take a trip to Tahiti. Here you go. Here's my UV card. Go ahead and process it. I don't know, but I just wanted to ask that question if anybody might have an idea.
Okay. Who's got the dog?
Oh, background. Meeting.
Somebody put in, it's gone now, but I agree with you completely. Somebody put into the chat room that it's like when you're pregnant. So is every other woman on the planet. Yes. Mark, allow Bob to give you a call afterwards.
Sure, not a problem.
And
Mark, we appreciate you, and we love you, man, and we're always glad to hear your voice. So I'll look forward to hearing how yours and Bob's call went. I'm only a phone call away too, my man. If you ever want to call me, Bob, give him my number.
You guys have my number there, right?
Yep.
Yes, we do.
Great. Give me a call anytime. Love to kick it around. See if we can come to some common ground.
My man, we love you, buddy.
Thanks, Mark.
All right, guys. All right.
All right, bye.
Bye. Okay, we have area code 830. Area code 830? Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, Lisa, hello?
Oh, I think I know who it is.
Oh,
this is
our
Lydia?
angel? Yes.
Yes, Lydia.
I've been
hello, Brian. Hello, Bob.
Hello,
Hi, Lydia.
Hello, it's so good to talk to you. I am so thoroughly enjoying this conversation. It's brilliant. Brilliant on so many levels.
I have been wanting to put a call out to ask you to please call back in because I have to tell you how many hearts you touched last time. I've never been so inundated with people contacting me after a show to tell me how you took them over the edge, darling.
You
really
thank
did.
you,
It wasn't
sweetie.
just us. And please contact me. Make contact with me outside these shows because
I would love to.
You have a bigger role to play here.
Well, thank you, my sister. I appreciate those beautiful, loving words, and I send all of that love back out to everyone with open arms. I wanted to say that this brilliant conversation that's happening this evening is, again, my goodness, so timely. Myself and our sister friend Rose that I spoke to you guys about last time, we're having, pretty much this very conversation this morning. And something that I didn't get to tell you is back in July, actually the first part of July, I took a trip to be physically with Rose, with another powerful, beautiful sister. And we set this up with the intention to go into ceremony because I had vision and I had insight that thing. And we went into ceremony or into prayer, however anybody wants to, to take that, with the huge, huge intention that we would be able to continue through this time, quote unquote, this place in the continuum, with just laser point accuracy, focus, that we could get beyond this. And the intention is that we no longer need any form of representation. We just don't. And this was this ceremony, and it was powerful. And we brought everybody into this because it's time to do this. And it's simply a lot of times fear of the unknown that's stopping a lot of us. And it's like speaking and listening to Mark. A lot of times I like to tell individuals that a lot of this that's being spoken of is hard to grasp, the concepts, because it is not of the mind. It is not of the mind. You truly have to make yourself, so to speak, for an analogy, larger. You have to, like Bob said, you have to really begin to know who you truly are. And that's when these things begin to make complete and total sense. Being the observer, making yourself large from an elevated viewpoint, from a higher aspect, is how all of these things begin to look and make sense. We really, truly no longer need representation to get through this. We can do this together. And this is our fervent desire, and this is a conversation that we have been having to let you know, some other of the brothers and sisters out here, exactly with what you and Bob and Brian, and I'm sure Heather and Dee, this is where we're all headed. This is this heartfelt knowing where we're at now. And others just need to relax into it and know that it's not a concept you can grasp in your mind, because all you do is struggle with it there, and you get fearful with it there. So I just wanted to interject that a little bit, because I know what it's like to be in that place where you just like I just don't understand. I don't understand what you're saying. This just has no relevance to where I'm at in my life right now. You get these blank, eyes, these blank stares like, they're like, I don't get it. I just don't get it. And the only thing I can do is just send a lot of love to that being and touch them that way, because I know that they're getting it is not going to be a mindset. Does that make sense? Does that relate with you?
Lydia, you know what I love
Absolutely.
about you? I imagine that if you were to Google how to hold space for others, you'd see this beautiful picture of Lydia with this amazing smile. Because that's exactly what you're doing right now. And it's the absolutely most profound and only approach that you could take when courting another and their uncertainty or their doubt or their fear or their worry or their struggle, is you hold that space of unconditional love and you touch their heart with that, and that's all that you could ever possibly need to do.
Yes.
And you do it so unbelievably beautifully. So thank you.
Oh, it's like when the documents first came out. How many of us said, I didn't understand them with my head. I don't understand the legalese, but I got them in my heart.
Right.
But then what we did was we got that. The documents spoke to us. They spoke to our heart, and then we engaged our mind to figure out what it meant. Then we engaged our mind to formulate a plan, and that was just a knee-jerk reaction because that's what we do.
Right.
And I think you have a way, my beautiful, beautiful woman, of getting people back to that space. It's your energy just permeates. I don't know how you do it.
It's in the quality of your voice, Lydia. You use harmonics in a very, very unique way. Did anybody ever tell you you have an extremely unique voice?
Yes. Yes, since way back, since I can remember.
Do you know that that's a gift?
I do now. I do now know that it's a gift. Before, it used to be off-putting for me because literally there's no place that I can go, and this is literal, in a crowded group of people, everybody milling around doing whatever that they're doing, like let's say, for instance, in an airport. And I'll simply turn to my husband and start talking to him, and then all of a sudden everybody in a 15-foot radius turns around and looks at me. Well, that just kind of startled me or embarrassed me because I thought something was just really bizarre with me. And my husband is used to it, and my friends that are close to me are used to it. But there is something about that. I understand that now. I just didn't really know, what exactly it was.
Bring that more into focus, because that's exactly how I do my meditations. You can convey a lot through the quality of the sound of your voice, and you're doing it just naturally. I'm glad that you're aware of it, but that's an amazing gift, and thank you.
Oh, well, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. I am just so grateful, and I will tell you again that I honor you, all of you, and it's such appreciation for it's just such perfection. All of these conversations that are coming in these beautiful sequences, and it's just with such a heart full of gratitude that I have for all of you and those listening, all of us. And I just know that I was talking to Rose, like I was telling her, that if we just go ahead and continue to observe everything that's passing by without exception, everything, and just stay in that higher elevated place, that we're golden. We're going to be fine. We are fine. And everything, I love when you guys said everything is unfolding absolutely as it should, because it is. It truly is. It truly, truly is. And
do you know how valuable it is to know that, Lydia?
Yes.
What a tool that is.
Oh, it's huge. It's really huge. And I'm just in awe. I'm in awe that we are all just working through this and trying to put the puzzle pieces together and having such tremendous dialogue and all of this. It's just so appropriate and so special. Everything that's said goes into play here, because one person says one thing and then it triggers another person's heart or mind to come up with this other thing, and it's just beautiful. And I know that, for instance, Heather and all of her doing, and Dee, this post that just came out, wow, the energy that was contained within that is remarkable. So we just need to let go, just go ahead and let go and be at ease in the flow. And we're truly all in the most perfect position now to realize, to really, really realize that we just no longer need representation. We really don't. We have each other. What more do we need? We have each other.
Awesome.
I don't think any of us could have said that better ourselves.
It was like having a meditation.
Just listening to your voice is like a meditation.
I swear, just listening to her voice.
I want to record Lydia's voice, like saying saying bedtime stories, and I'll like listen to it to put myself to sleep nice and peacefully every night.
Actually, Lydia, we might try to organise having you on for the Collective Imagination show and guiding us through a meditation. Maybe something similar to what you did with Rose, and helping people to click into that heart space, those who are feeling a struggle with it. It's reminding me, this conversation is reminding me of what we talked about months and months ago. And I used the analogy of starving children, people who are in these impoverished areas of the world where they've never known what it's like to have a full belly. They just had that experience. And sort of like what we're asking them to do is to go from that constant state of starvation to becoming a breatharian. But unless they become comfortable in that, at the time we were talking about providing a bridge being, giving them so much food and allowing them to gorge themselves to the point of discomfort, and also then getting comfortable in the idea that there will always be enough food if they want it. And then hopefully they'll get to the point where they go, you know what, this is all too hard, all of this constantly gorging myself. Now you can talk to me about being a breatharian. So it was that bridging process. But now I think we're actually starting to get our heads around the fact that we just don't need it. Our hearts are there, I think. It's just our heads that are lagging.
Right. I agree. And, so just all of us, that we have each other. There are those of us who truly have walked into the knowing of who we truly, truly are. And since we've done this, that means we've done it for the whole. We've done it for the one. So everybody just needs to just relax and ease into it right now. Just lay back into it. And there's a soft place there for everyone. And
Lydia, I have one quick message for you. Lydia, one message from me to you.
Okay.
Job well done, sweetheart.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian.
Well,
thank you. And the same to you. The same to all of you. And please just take my number. Any one of you.
I've got it, Lydia. I've got it.
And
Lydia, you're getting questions right now if you can go to the gathering in North Carolina for Labor Day weekend.
I would love to do that. I would love to. You never know, right? You never know. All things are possible, truly. Truly.
That's right.
That's right. So you just
Lydia,
never know.
Can you stay on the line with us? We've only got a few minutes left. We'll try and take one more call, but can
absolutely.
you stay with us? Great.
Yes.
Okay, we'll bring out area code 901. 901?
Hello. How are you?
Yes. Good, thank you.
Hey, this is Bill from Tennessee. How's everybody?
Bill.
Hey, Bill. Good. How are you?
We're all better now
I'm
that
awesome.
Lydia's with us.
I can make it quick, though. I really, listening to you're still on the line with a beautiful voice.
That's Lydia.
I wanted to bring up one or 2 points about the bridge funds, though, or whatever you want to call it. I came in maybe a little late, so I don't know how much you discussed it. I think I came in at Brian's hogwash.
Oh, when I said hogwash, but not necessarily my personal hogwash. Got it. Thank you.
Right. Well, I thought, we are a small percentage of the population still. And so maybe that's one example, just to give an alternative viewpoint, of, the 1% trying to dictate what we hope the other 98, 95, 99% will adjust to quickly, hopefully. However, what's wrong with a bridge? What's wrong with the value of representation for a short period of time? Call it a bridge party. Exhaust it. Let people go out and enjoy themselves. Then they'll wrap their heads around that concept. Imagine the collective sigh and the collective energy that builds when you get the crescendo of the masses behind you for the first time instead of against you. How about that?
I would love to hear Lydia's take on that.
I guess how that comes to me is that really what it is that when you come to that very, very sacred space in your heart, that true, just eternal knowing, those beautiful nuances of who you truly are, you just know that this beautiful experience that we orchestrated has come to its finale, and that it really can just be done now. There no longer needs to be this drawing out of it any longer. There's not to say that there's anything wrong, per se, to want to experience things that you haven't had a chance to experience, quote unquote, in this lifetime. It's just that there is such far superior to be experienced without this representation standing in the way any longer. And that's what we're touching upon. That's that sacred knowing that we're all talking about, that I was saying that sometimes it's hard to grasp because it's not something of the mind, and it's something just to feel and to know from within. And we're all awakening to that now. So none of us are saying that there is anything wrong with the bridge. We're just simply stating that we really can just be now. We can just be.
Yeah. And I think it's about the 100th monkey effect. I mean, I don't think it's 1% trying to dictate how it should be for the others. Firstly, I believe we have, everybody who's listening to these shows and everybody who's on this path, a completely different intent. We want the greatest good for all, for starters.
Here's the big thing. Here's the big thing, real quick, Bill, is that the masses, if the masses may appear to not be ready for this in any way, that is only on the mental level. Energetically, everyone is ready now. Everyone. Because we all came here for this reason. Some people just chose to not to hold out mentally until the very end. Energetically, we're there.
Yes.
I think about people's imaginations and how long it will take for people's imaginations, collective imaginations, if you were, to come online. And because, it has been a struggle for many, and many it continues to be, even in these times. And that's why I say I know that we're there, and I agree completely. I'm ready to go past it as well. But I just throw that out there. What about the party? Maybe that's, call it a bridge party. Maybe it'll only last
Bill,
2 months.
It's going to be a bigger party than you could ever possibly comprehend from your existing state of fun. That's the point.
Yes.
We're in the very last seconds.
We've got a few seconds to go, yeah.
So, Bill,
good night, guys.
Thanks for calling. Everybody listening, thank you for joining. We'll be back with you tomorrow. Lydia, we love you, and you're awesome, and we hope you can join us again here real soon.
I love you, too. I hold you all in my heart. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to everybody in the chat room, everybody listening. I think we've lost you live, but once again, it's been a beautiful conversation. Thank you, everyone, for participating. And we will see you tomorrow. Hopefully, I will be there. I'll be on the road, so I'm not really sure how that's all going to work. So I'll keep you, Bob and Brian, posted. And if I don't, I'll talk to you soon.